What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Wednesday, June 24th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as third baseman Ryan McMahon was placed on the 10-day IL with a ear/throat infection. McMahon is likely to miss the minimum time, as this is just him being sick. So with McMahon out, third baseman Oswaldo Cabrera was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. He should help contribute in the infield. We'll see Ahmed Rosario likely see a lot of time at the hot corner. Next reliever, Jaden Hill was placed on the 15-day IL by the Rockies with shoulder tendonitis. The timeline for Hill's return is unclear, but he probably won't miss more than 15 days, 2 to 3 weeks for Jaden Hill. Reliever Seth Halverson was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. Next, starting pitcher Ben Brown was placed on the 15-day IL with a neck strain. I wouldn't expect Brown to be out too long, as he wasn't really feeling the effects of this injury prior to being placed on the IL, maybe for a couple days or so, but it clearly didn't affect his last start. So I wouldn't expect Brown to be out for a while. Vince Velasquez was selected from the minors in a corresponding move, but we'll have even further shakeups to the Cubs rotation, as starting pitcher Edward Cabrera was also placed on the 15-day IL with a hamstring strain. The severity of the strain will determine the length of Cabrera's absence, but it looked pretty bad as he suffered it fielding a ball at first base, and hopefully Cabrera isn't out for too long, but could see him missing 3 to 4 weeks. Don't want to put that in pen though, so we'll wait to hear more information on Cabrera's injury. Gavin Hollowell was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, but we're going to see some other transactions that will certainly have a more direct effect of resolving the issues in this rotation. And starting with starting pitcher Matthew Boyd, who's expected to be activated from the 15-day IL to start in New York against the Mets today. He's been out for a month and a half after undergoing knee surgery. So Matthew Boyd back for the Cubs. They also acquired starting pitcher David Peterson via trade with the Mets in exchange for first base prospect Cole Mathis. Peterson hasn't been great this year. He hasn't been great throughout his career. He's had brief moments. He's more of a swing man, where we see him pitch out of release sometimes, and definitely has a lot of experience in the rotation. But with the Cubs rotation absolutely bleeding right now with so many injuries, Peterson is certainly going to contribute in the rotation, at least until we see a couple other guys return. So David Peterson acquired via trade from the Mets by the Cubs. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Tyler Mahle was activated from the 15-day IL today to start versus the A's. He's been out for a month with a strained hamstring, and Mahle went 5 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing 2 hits and 2 walks while fanning 4. He induced 8 whiffs with 27% CSW across 70 pitches. And Mahle came back from the IL with his highest fastball velocity of the year, which is certainly eye-catching. Splitters were great and sliders were solid, but he was lucky to get away with 11 called strikes on heaters against a passive A's lineup, as well as getting 11 outs on 13 balls in play. But Mahle's certainly worth considering moving forward if he maintains the 93 to 94 mile per hour fastball that he showed on Wednesday. So definitely watch maybe from afar in his next start, and if Mahle's still throwing harder, we can start to buy into him as a streamer. Reliever Tristan Beck was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, shortstop Francisco Lindor was activated from the 10-day IL. He has been out for 2 months with a strained calf, and he reclaimed his role as the everyday shortstop for the Mets. Shortstop Zach Short was designated for assignment in a corresponding move, but great to have one of the best shortstops in baseball, Francisco Lindor, back in the majors. Next, starting pitcher Ayuri Perez was activated from the 15-day IL after missing a month with a strained gracilis. He started versus the Rangers, tossing 4 2/3 innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 run, walking nobody while fanning just 1. He induced 4 whiffs with 18% CSW across 68 pitches, and Perez's command was a little iffy, as some of his pitches had high strike rates, some of them had low strike rates, which should suggest an overall lack of feel for the entire arsenal. Perez is also still expanding his workload, as he wasn't allowed to eclipse 70 pitches here, but he also wasn't inducing the whiffs that got us excited about him before he got injured. And now he heads to Coors before going to Sacramento. So I think we want to stay away from Perez for at least the next week because those matchups are really tough, especially coming off the IL, still trying to build back up his pitch count and not having the same effectiveness of his arsenal that he had only briefly before he hit the IL. Reliever Dax Fulton was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, starting pitcher J.R. Ritchie was optioned to the minors by the Braves after making a start this past week. Reliever Tyler Kinley was activated from the 15-day IL in a corresponding move. He missed I think it was about 2 weeks with elbow inflammation. So Tyler Kinley back to the Braves bullpen. And lastly, starting pitcher Mitch Bratt was recalled from the minors to start in St. Louis. He's a top 15 prospect for the Braves, and he tossed 3 innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 earned run, walking 2 while striking out 3, inducing 7 whiffs with 24% CSW across 54 pitches. Bratt is a soft-tossing lefty. His four-seamer isn't great, but it may play up thanks to his low arm angle, while curveballs and sliders are decent, but really only curveballs landed downstairs while sliders were upstairs. I think that slider is more of a cutter, and I think the curve is more of a sweeper. So not really sure why StatCast define them as curveballs and sliders, but regardless, he also throws sinkers to left-handed batters. And ultimately, this is a breaker-focused arm without much support for the breaker. Bratt is not somebody that we need to trust in fantasy right now. It's really not enough to get me excited. And I wonder, too, why the Diamondbacks limited his workload to just 54 pitches in this one. Maybe we would have gotten a better idea of him if he threw deeper into this game and we're able to determine how much grit he really has to pitch deep into games, because maybe he's got better command than he showed today. Hopefully we'll get to see another chance for Mitch Bratt in the rotation for the Diamondbacks. Starting pitcher Cole Drake was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And in terms of news, starting pitcher Jack Flaherty is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL on Sunday to start versus the Astros. Flaherty will have missed about the minimum time with a strained pectoral. Starting pitcher Kodai Senga will be a starting pitcher no longer, as he is moving to the bullpen to accommodate the return of Christian Scott to the Mets rotation this weekend. Senga has struggled in 7 starts this year with an ERA over 10. And lastly, starting pitcher Mick Abel will undergo arthroscopic surgery on his right elbow and is likely to miss at least a couple of months. We probably won't see Mick Abel back for the Twins until September because of that arthroscopic surgery. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Wednesday, a day in which we had a packed slate of 16 games as the Cubs and Mets partook in a doubleheader. We'll start it off with their hitters leading off with shortstop Dansby Swanson, who helped the Cubs to a win in both legs of the doubleheader in Queens. In game 1, he went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, 7 runs batted in. Incredible game 1. Game 2, he didn't stop. 3 for 5, a run, a triple, 4 runs batted in, and a stolen base. So overall for Dansby Swanson, 5 for 9, 3 runs, a triple, 2 home runs, 11 runs batted in, and a stolen base. He's up to 11 homers and 10 steals on the season now. Incredible game for Dansby. First homer went 400 feet at 105 miles per hour. Second one, 418 feet at 103 miles per hour. Huge day for Dansby Swanson. He's one of the best 9-hole hitters in baseball, especially under a fantasy lens because of his power speed production that comes despite a career low 202 batting average, which will climb as his 227 BABIP regresses. Swanson, though, has made up for the low batting average with a career high 12.5% walk rate, which has actually led to a higher on-base percentage this year than he had last year. And it's all thanks to a more patient approach. And if Swanson can get back to hitting more line drives instead of continuing to inflate a career high infield fly ball rate, he has an even higher ceiling to reach, as evidenced by a new max exit velocity at 110 miles per hour. But incredible day for Dansby Swanson. Next, we have catcher Samuel Basallo, who did all he could, but the Orioles lost to the Angels in LA. He went 2 for 5 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 4 runs batted in. He's up to 12 homers on the year now. First one went 434 feet at 107 miles per hour. Second one, 373 at 113 miles per hour. Basallo has been very solid as a power hitting backstop this year. His isolated power ranks 6th among catchers with at least 150 plate appearances this year, trailing Dylan Dingler, Hunter Goodman, Shea Langeliers, Dalton Rushing, and Drake Baldwin. And that's a who's who of the best hitting catchers this year. The best part about Basallo's production this year is that Everything he's done has been fully supported by his underlying metrics. Nothing suggests he's under or overperforming, so we can expect him to perform at this pace the rest of the year. So expect Basayo to be somebody with about 25 homers and an OPS nearing 800. He's definitely legit. I'm excited to see what he does throughout his career and throughout the rest of this season. And lastly, first baseman Paul Goldschmidt helped the Yankees to win in Detroit, going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 2 runs batted in. He's up to 14 homers on the year now. First one went 372 feet at 95 miles per hour. Second one, 427 feet at 105 miles per hour. And Goldschmidt has hit so well this year that he's forced his way out of the short side of a platoon into an everyday role at first base. It helps that the Yankees are dealing with injuries, but Goldschmidt deserves the playing time. He's been amazing this year with a 155 WRC plus, which is his highest mark since his 2022 MVP campaign. After sporting his second worst barrel rate at 8% last year, Goldschmidt has maximized his hard hit balls this year with an 11% barrel rate, allowing him to tap into whatever power he has left. I don't think we can expect Goldie to have an OPS of 900, over 900 for the rest of the year in his age 38 campaign, but he's certainly worth rostering in fantasy while he's mashing like he has been recently. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Wednesday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Jacob deGrom, who did all he could, but the Mets lost. No, he's not on the Mets anymore. The Rangers lost in Miami. He went 6 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs, walking 2 while fanning 8, inducing 24 whiffs with 38% CSW across 91 pitches. And deGrom earned the gallows pole by leading baseball with those 24 whiffs. His 3-pitch mix was incredible as usual. Sliders racked up 12 whiffs. 4-seamers had 9 whiffs and 43% CSW, and changeups induced a trio of whiffs, but they maintained 42% CSW. Jacob deGrom is dope, and he makes us feel dope for rostering him in fantasy. Next, we have Braxton Ashcraft, who helped the Pirates to win against the Mariners, tossing 6 innings, allowing 5 hits and 1 run, walking nobody while fanning 10. He induced 15 whiffs with 41% CSW across 86 pitches, and Ashcraft earned the King Cole by leading baseball with that 41% CSW, and he was an absolute strike machine on Wednesday with a ridiculous 79% overall strike rate. Curveballs and sliders were dope as usual, while Ashcraft's 4-seamers and sinkers avoided damage, which is usually the biggest indicator, the telling factor of Ashcraft's success. Don't expect him to fall off anytime soon, especially if he continues to avoid damage on the empty velocity fastballs. And lastly, we have Gage Jump, who did all he could, but the A's lost to the Giants in San Francisco. He tossed 5 innings, allowing 3 hits and no one runs, walking 1 while striking out 9, inducing 11 whiffs with 29% CSW across 97 pitches. And all my doubting has just led to Jump finding more and more success. He set a career high with 9 strikeouts as his elite 4-seamer continues to prove it doesn't need any help to lead him to success. 6 whiffs and 35% CSW on the heater, while breakers earned enough strikes to keep batters honest. The heater was lucky to steal 10 called strikes against a passive Giants offense, and it may have allowed more damage if not for 16 foul balls, which made Jump super inefficient as he failed to pitch into the 6th inning. But we'll take it. And with a 2.04 ERA, a 0.96 whip, and a 26% strikeout rate, there's no reason to stop starting him. I think there's another level that would prove his success more sustainable. I'm still a little bit wary of him pitching at home. I think the strikeouts were a little unsustainable here with just 11 whiffs. I forgot to look at the put away rate, but I assume it was probably pretty high. Checking now, 64% put away rate for Gage Jump. That's definitely unsustainable. So we can't expect him to strike out 9 batters like this too much often. Ultimately, I think that he will find that next level. He'll find a feel for his breakers, or he'll incorporate that changeup more versus right-handed batters that will suggest that his success is sustainable. But regardless, the heater doesn't need much support. He's proven that thus far. And while I definitely have plenty of right-handed pitchers that I've supported in the way that I haven't supported Jump, where guys like Ryan Nelson or Sean Burke or Brandon Young, who have really good fastballs but don't really have the supporting offerings, I've said, you know what? These guys have the incredible base to build off of. All they have to do is have a decent amount of success with 1 or 2 of their secondaries to be super dope. And we've seen Jump do that, and I think it's time to stop doubting him. But I think we'll get the real test that lets us know if Jump is legit as he gets the Dodgers next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Wednesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Pete Fairbanks worked around a solo shot for his 12th save. Jimmy Herget recorded his second save with a perfect ninth. Brian Baker worked around a solo shot for his 20th save. Carmen Mlodzinski had a scoreless 3-inning save, his second of the year. David Bednar recorded his 16th save with a scoreless ninth. Yohan Duran struck out the side in order for his 19th save. Josh Hader recorded his 6th save with a hitless ninth. Joel Kuhnel had a scoreless 4-out save, his 6th of the year, as Trevor McGill and Abner Uribe were unavailable after pitching on back-to-back days. Tanner Scott recorded his 11th save with a scoreless ninth. And lastly, Jason Adam pitched a perfect ninth for his second save. Mason Miller and Adrian Morahone were unavailable after pitching back-to-back days. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Elvis Alvarado allowed 2 solo shots to blow his first save and take his third loss. Cade Smith also allowed 2 solo shots to blow his third save, but the Guardians held on to win in 10 innings. Sam Bachman pitched a perfect ninth in a tie game that the Angels would lose in 10, and Ryan Helsley pitched in that one as well, tossing a perfect ninth. Devin Williams surrendered 3 unearned runs, pitching the ninth down by 2. And lastly, Jacob Webb pitched a hitless ninth up by 5 after the Cubs tacked on 3 insurance runs in the top half. But if you like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's daily articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Thursday, June 25th, a day in which we'll have just 9 games on our slate. My matchup of the day is Cam Schlittler versus Connolly Early. We got the Yankees versus the Red Sox. Schlittler has been awesome recently, and I'm looking for Connolly Early to bounce back. Hopefully these guys have a lot of extra adrenaline here in this rivalry matchup. In terms of probable starters, we've got 4 guys in the auto starts tier, including Schlittler. We've also got Christopher Sanchez in our nation's capital, Bryce Miller in Pittsburgh, and Kevin Gausman versus the Rangers. Our probably starts tier has 3 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 8, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Ian Seymour, who will have an opener against the Royals. Seymour has a very solid fastball, a great changeup, and with the opener, he has an increased chance at a win, and the Royals lineup is diminished right now, so I think Seymour is going to pitch well there. I'd also keep an eye out for my boy Cade Cavalli versus the Phillies. Cavalli is a little more similar to Ben Brown than I'd like. Empty velocity fastballs with a very dope curveball, but Cavalli has proven to be solid from most of the time this year. He's not been incredible, not been worth rostering, not been worth holding on to throughout the season, but he's definitely worth a stream. It's a little bit tough versus the Phillies, but I like Cade Cavalli there as a deep streamer. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Mets hitters versus Matthew Boyd in Citi Field, as Boyd is returning from the IL and had an ERA at 6 prior to landing on the IL. I'd also target Cardinals hitters versus Zach Gallen in Busch Stadium, as he has an ERA over 6 at 6.10. So Cardinals hitters should be able to take advantage of that. Now we can close things out with our relievers to watch. Josh Hader has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4. Brian King has pitched in 3 of the past 4. So if the Astros want to give him the day off too, then we should see Aniel De Los Santos be the top option for a save for the Astros on Thursday. And lastly, we have David Bednar, who's pitched on back-to-back days, but so has Fernando Cruz. So Brent Hedrick or Camilo Doval should be the top options for the Yankees on Thursday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, where I do daily SP streamers and I break down every single start via the Pitcher List stats player cards. Tune into YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. Carson Picard will be with you tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.